All right, so boom. Shay, Shannon Sharpe, I am so incredibly disappointed in you, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But for those who are unaware, let me catch you up to speed. Shannon Sharpe's lawsuit that was levied against him from that courtesan wanton wench harlot, asking for $50 million. You know damn well you wasn't going to get that much money, but it apparently has been settled for an undisclosed amount, right? And we all knew this was a shakedown. We all knew this was a situation where a horned out, incredibly lustful man done got with the wrong harlot, and now you paying the consequence, the ignorance tax, if you will. I'll answer the long part first rather than delaying the entire situation as to why he would go and settle. It's pretty simple, right? Better to pay this money now and make that money back on the back end than to be in a situation where you drag this out, win, but ultimately take a loss. Because call it what it is. What's the most important thing to Shannon? His image, right? So you already know, especially if you were to use the Diddy case as a reference, not to say that Shannon was doing what Diddy was doing, but what do we now all know about Diddy? He is a sexual deviant, right? Shannon has had, for all intents and purposes, a clean-cut image in the realm of, you know, the courtal affairs, with the exception of when he went on Instagram Live. Outside of that, you always heard Shannon present himself as somebody who's not getting into all of the super sort of kinks. He's not doing the toes. He ain't dealing with no sort of anilingus.
I mean, I you know, behind closed doors, it's all considered making love. But
Yeah.
but what we draw the line though, Joe?
You don't be like when you don't suck. Never mind. You know, this is a kid friendly.
Hey, you better have some pig feet or some chicken feet. That's the only thing I'm sucking on that go in the mouth. Feet.
You don't suck on the toe, huh?
Come on, man. Come on, Ocho.
Listen.
Man, out his mind.
You know where it normally exit, but you never enter. That's where you put the whipped cream. You hear me?
And you
the
put
whipped cream,
you put your mouth
the
down.
cherry. Yeah, put your mouth, boy, your whole face, boy. What you talking about, man?
Ocho, I got it. Okay, when she on the back, I get the front part.
Right.
But come on, Ocho, you. I guess you right around. I guess you right around the corner. Slip of the tongue ain't nobody fault, Ocho. You right around the corner.
Nah, but Eddie, listen, the goddamn taint ain't never this big, boy. You never lick no ass.
Oh.
And that's all well and good, but remember, in the midst of the lawsuit, what did she try to present it as? As if he took advantage of her. And in the text messages, you saw situations where she was talking about $25,000 per cheek, which was ridiculous. You had moments in which you had Shannon Sharpe talk about having collars. There's a bits of race play that's in there, talking about destroying her rectal area. Whatever the case just so happens to be, you don't want a situation in which all of this sexual deviancy comes to the light, because now it changes the way that the populace would view you. Albeit, whenever you want to do something in the bedroom, that's amongst yourself and whoever it is that you're dealing with. That ain't our business. But once it comes to the public eye, it opens you up to judgment. And at the end of the day, people who are consuming his content are going to feel a particular way about him. And there will be some people who will hear stuff like that and say, you know what? Maybe I don't want to consume this content anymore and leave. So Shannon ultimately choosing to go and settle and not have that kind of information come out is probably something that led to his decision to do so.
And I got you on face down, my knee in your back, and I got you crying like a you know what.
And again, let's establish, the reason why I said I was so disappointed in Shannon was primarily because you can't be at this age and be so horned out to where you're blind of what these opportunists are here to do. You met this girl when she was 19 years old in a gym, right? So if you wanted to go and engage in the courtal affairs, all right, cool. But when you're now lining her pockets, you're doing these crazy activities, and you're not recognizing this is a possibility of what can happen. Because the moment that the girl was involved in OnlyFans, I don't know how long she was involved in it, since she's put out a statement saying she's retiring, and I'll get to that in a bit, but you should have already known the writing is on the wall. You engage in your courtal affairs, you out, right? But instead, you wanted to keep things going to where it was a 2-year relationship, situationship, if you will. You knew damn well you wasn't gonna go wife shorty up, let alone have a long-term relationship with her. You were with her primarily for the race play and then ultimately with the courtal affairs. Why would you put yourself in this position knowing that you're trying to go and build an empire? Because the reason why Shannon would feel so comfortable saying, all right, I'll settle this now and avoid having to deal with going towards a trial where he would have probably inevitably won, but ultimately you'd have to suffer the consequence of the public now being aware of your sexual deviancy and everything else that comes with that, right? He wants to ultimately be able to cash out and receive a multiple 8-figure, potentially 9-figure deal for either A, his podcast, or B, his entirety of Shay Shay Media. Because you've heard Shannon talk about this numerous times on both Nightcap and then also on Club Shay Shay as well. His episode that he did with Cat Williams is probably the most viewed American singular podcast episode in the history of YouTube. And if it's not the most, it's in the top 5. They broke a record for the most views in 24 hours upon a release of a podcast. It's alleged that he made $6 million from that episode alone. Whatever the case just so happens to be, you've heard Shannon talk about the amount of money that Joe Rogan had made when it was like $100 million deal from Spotify. Then they doubled back, gave him like $250 million, $250 million. You had Alex Cooper and Call Her Daddy get like a $60 million deal or something like that. I forget where it was. And maybe it was Spotify, maybe it was Barstool. Whatever the case was, they left from there. Or she left from there, and then she got like $100 million deal from wherever the hell it is that she's doing her podcast now. You got a ton of these different podcasts getting all kinds of money. New Heights with the Kelseys, what was it, $100 million deal? Shannon has talked about all of these on his individual shows, and furthermore talked about how that's the goal for what it is that he's trying to build. So you don't want to be in a situation in which now you're turning viewers away, you're turning sponsors away, because they'll look at you like, oh, hold on, wait a minute, this guy was involved in some odd things. Now, albeit you have shady characters that's been able to go and do a ton of incredibly lucrative deals, but at the end of the day, for Shannon, why take the risk, right? So better to pay now and then make that money on the back end. And I believe this probably settled for anywhere between, I want to say 15, actually no, 15 would be too low, because given the lawyer that this harlot, courtesan, wanton wench enlisted, here's what he does. So he's probably going to take anywhere between, what's the percentages that lawyers would probably take? Anywhere, what about like 30, 40, 50 some percent? 50 is probably a crazy amount. Maybe about like 35, 40 some percent, right? And they won. So who knows if that includes, I should say increases the amount that he'd be able to go and get. So they probably end up settling for maybe about 20 to 30 some million. So he could at least get at floor 10 mil in his pocket. So she's in a situation where you now put all this money into her pocket because you just couldn't find somebody else to go and sleep with. And now look at you. Shorty put out this post saying she's retiring from OnlyFans, not gonna make that content no more. Why? Because you just handed this harlot generational wealth because you couldn't keep it in your pants, or at least deal with somebody who wouldn't have done you like this.
Oh my gosh, fuck, that was crazy. Oh my god. Oh my god. Thank you, Hunt, for the tip. Okay, guys, I can't take the panties off and do it until we get to our next tip goal. Our next tip goal.
You having an unnatural allegiance to losers is not like you.
8 figures for this, 8 figures for that, bro. And you know what's crazy? Like, don't get me wrong. I've never been somebody to sit around and be on somebody out your league or whatever the case is. But let's call it what it is. Shannon Sharpe is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, incredibly recognizable. You could have literally got anybody. You about to miss out on tens of millions of dollars, anywhere between 20 and 30 million. And I could still be wrong, and it could be more, right? Because I don't believe it's gonna be anything lower than 15 million that they settled for, right? And it could mess around and be more, because remember, she let it slip that Shannon had offered 10 million initially, and they turned that down and said, yo, we're gonna try to see if we could go and get 50. Right? So she turned down 10. There's no way you turn down 10. You'll be like, oh, we'll take 15. They definitely want to at least double or nothing or then way more, right? Whatever the case may be. You mean to tell me you couldn't get nobody else? I ain't saying Shorty's hideous. But again, 20 mil for that? Come on, bro. Come on, fam. And I've said time and time again, whatever you want to do behind closed doors, that's your business. But now once it comes to the global platform, which is the internet, comes across my desk, it's not my business. And again, if you was putting out an image of being somebody who's not gonna find yourself in these situations, because remember, Shannon had been on the record talking about how he had never slept over at another woman's house in 30 plus years. He had dealt with women who had him in crazy situations in the past. All you did was essentially show you haven't learned from your mistakes. You have all of these different sort of mentors. You have all of these different sort of resources, and you continue to make the same mistake. And I would hope moving forward, he doesn't find himself in a situation like this again. Because just think about, like, this girl just came up, changed the trajectory of her entire family. Because I don't know how well she was doing on OnlyFans. Like, if you go to her Instagram, it's likes upon likes on those posts. Her OnlyFans has a decent amount of likes, so I'd assume she was doing okay. But this right here, she throw her feet up, never have to work again in her life.
Guys, damn it!
And I'll be fully transparent with you. I have no business being so incredibly infuriated by the situation, but I can't help myself. Knowing how many athletes and public figures find themselves in this situation because you're just so incredibly undisciplined and you're not wise enough to learn from the other men who have suffered and unfortunately found themselves shelling out all kinds of bread of this incredible magnitude in shakedown situations. Because remember, in the midst of her lawsuit, she never went to the police prior. There was no reports that was filed. You would have never known where any of this came from. She recognized, oh, hold on. Shannon was telling me intimate information regarding, the money that he possibly made from the podcast. We were together for 2 years. It's like as if she was plotting and planning. I don't want to say she's some sort of mastermind, if you will, from when she spotted Shannon in the gym. But let's call it what it is. How many of these harlots you've seen on social media understand how to play the game? Fucking Drea got a kid that's 20 by a dude who's the same age as her son. Like, how don't you find yourself in a situation where these harlots is clearly taking advantage of you and you don't got nobody in your camp who's able to say, hey bro, hold on, wait, whoa, what's going on over here? I don't think this would be a good idea. Like, that's insane to me. This entire relationship, from the very beginning, it was all about the dollars for her. And for whatever reason, even if he was cool with that, how don't you have the foresight to recognize this is a possibility that could end up happening? This is a conclusion that you may find yourself in. And albeit, I would hope that Shannon's able to go and secure that 9-figure deal, that multi 8-figure deal, because he's got sensational, entertaining content with Shay Shay Media. Nightcap truly might be one of the most entertaining sports podcasts, if not the most entertaining sports podcast out there, right? You got Jeff Teague's podcast, Gil's Arena, they doing great stuff. Number of the Kelseys with New Height, but Ocho and Shannon on Nightcap, hilarious. Shay Shay Media with Club Shay Shay with that podcast, incredible amount of views, tens of millions. Every single podcast episode is like damn near over 1 million, whatever the case is. He's doing sensational things. And you losing out on millions of dollars because you had to go and deal with, like, what we doing, bro?
Why?
Oh, that's not how the game is played. You can't do that.
Truly, I just wanted to close the door on the case, pretty much update you guys on what transpired, give you my thoughts and my prediction on how much it was that she probably received and as to why it was that Shannon went and settled. But the longer that I think about it and I talk about it, the more frustrated and disappointed that I get. Because truly, like I said prior, it makes no sense that you still have dudes finding themselves in this situation after 20 years of having access to social media where it was able to go and reach globally around the entire world, and decades upon decades of dudes who have fallen by way of these succubuses who show up. Is it just succubus or succubus? Somebody let me know. I think it's only succubi. I don't know. But whatever the case is, you've had these harlots fleece dude for generations, and for whatever reason, they keep falling victim to it. And don't get me wrong, lust has taken down David, lust has taken down Samson, lust has taken down Solomon. But whatever the case may be, right, it's still crazy to me that you find yourself in this situation, especially when you have the resources to be in a situation where this doesn't happen. Because really, 20, 30, 40, potentially 50 million, I don't think the 50, but still, all of these being shelled out to this harlot and then ultimately, paying for lawyer fees or whatever, it's cheaper to, I don't even want to say it, but you know what I'm saying. It's cheaper if he went, so how do you find yourself falling victim to this? It just don't make sense to me, bro. It just don't make sense to me, bro. And I would hope moving forward, he's able to go and get that deal. He's able to no longer associate himself with these particular types of harlots. I ain't saying you can't have the kind of coital affairs that it is that you're looking for. You want to go in and act on your kinks, that's all well and good. But please vet the individuals that you're dealing with, because there are people who are watching you solely to get what you have, and they're going to do everything in their power to do so. Whether you're on this great multi-million-dollar scale that all of these other athletes and public figures just so happen to be at, or you're a regular blue, white-collar worker, it don't matter what you got. If there's somebody who want to take what you got and they plotting to take what you got, they gonna do everything they can to get it. And if you dumb and you're not smart enough to identify that, you too will be a victim. And I'm not gonna sit here and say Shannon's a straight up victim, because he contributed to this as well. There's gotta be a level of accountability on his part as well. But it's frustrating to see. It really is, especially given all of the history and numerous different people that we've seen get taken down prior, and then you end up seeing somebody fall victim to it again. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Cat Williams, again, whatever he was able to see in the midst of that podcast where he said, hey, things are going to start to unfold for you post the release of this show. And lo and behold, here we are a year and a half later, and Shannon is down anywhere between $20 to $40 million because you just decided I wanted to go find a white girl to turn into my doggone slave. Man.
If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview. Listen, in 20 years, won't do an interview. Nobody's ever talked to her, and she's never been interviewed anywhere. How they all end up with that? That's part of what you get.
Hey, I appreciate you watching the entire video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And on top of that, hit that notification bell as well. For whatever reason, YouTube's only showing my videos to 20% of my subscribers. So if you have already turned on the notification bell, turn it off, turn it back on. If you never turn it on, turn it on. I appreciate you.